Better. Good morning. I knew you had it in you. All right, so good morning. We are here to talk about really mitigating your risk. We're all familiar with risk. Anyone that's ever been in business or, for that matter, in the movement coming up through it, we're all very accustomed to things like risk, business risk. Restaurants, 95% fail. In fact, new businesses, over 90% fail the first time. 80% succeed the second time. Something to keep in mind. And a lot of that has to do with what you learned along the way, the what not to do. Because really that is, let's be honest, the most expensive lesson in life we ever learn, yeah? What not to do. Politics is simply civilized warfare. You've heard that quote? Well, I believe that advocacy is simply a civilized form of politics. Yeah? Roll with me on this one. We actually teach a class on advocacy at Amsterdam University that teaches you how to make it happen with local officials and your neighbors and things like that, family, friends, your Aunt Betty. This is not that class. I've also had the conversation about how to talk about it through Green Flower online. You can find it. How to talk to your dear Aunt Betty and how to share that story. This is also not that conversation. This is the why conversation. This is why you should care. This is a business conference after all. And I want to share with you that while I have been doing this for now nearly a decade, which is kind of shocking to me when I realize I have been living in Wonderland for that long, I joke that I fell down the rabbit hole because I'm often meeting with the Mad Hatter and White Rabbit, and yes. Opposition creates opportunity. And I spent nearly 2 decades in mainstream opposition business, climbing the corporate ladder, ringing the bells, winning the contests, and it was rather hollow. There was something else that I was meant to do, and I think that some of you in this room have noticed that there is opportunity. However, you need an education first to figure out how to tiptoe into that good night. And frankly, you need an education before you go practice advocacy. You need to know what you're asking for, how to ask for it, how to identify your allies, and how to identify your enemies. There is a very specific and increasingly important goal that we all share. There's an election around the corner. Mental obstacles, physical obstacles, perceived obstacles, emotional obstacles, and some very real obstacles keep us from getting involved in some of these conversations. We face them every day in our industry, these obstacles. And I want to remind us, this industry, the cannabis industry, did you know that Amsterdam coined that word? We caught a lot of flack from a lot of people in the movement. It's still a movement. Until we change the federal law, this industry is still a movement. And it's our responsibility to change that law, not just for the good of the people or even for the good of the patients. Those are damn good reasons why. It's for the good of your business plan. Because with a new face in the White House comes a new AG, and a new attorney general can decide to enforce federal law. You see what happens with Trump? Who's standing behind him? What? Chris Christie is standing behind him. And what is Chris Christie before he was a governor? Attorney General. What do you think he's vying for? How's New Jersey going? And so even if he's not AG, let's say he's vying for VP, which is probably what you were also thinking. Now he's running the ONDCP. Make no mistake, your future is on the line here. That's why. The industry has to pay for the movement, even if you just simply do it to consider it, not a movement of tree-hugging, crystal-gripping, pot-smoking hippies, my people. I was raised by them, it's cool. But if you just consider it forward momentum, that's why. If all I do is help you dismantle and face some of these obstacles today to help you take these next steps, just a little easier, then I've done my job. But that is not my goal. My aim is higher. I want to turn our collective obstacles into advantages. You've heard of the entourage effect with cannabis. It takes the whole plant medicine to get the greatest effect. We are greater than the sum of our parts as well. And it's going to take every damn one of us that tiptoes in to tithe towards this end goal, at least until we hit that goal. You guys ever hear the serenity prayer? Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Many of us live by those words. In fact, in the 20s, I used to pride myself on serenity. Now I realize it was just glorified tolerance. Acceptance is not always a good thing. So then in my 30s, wisdom, yes, wisdom. I start to approach it. I think I can almost grasp it. 30s rock. For those of you that haven't been there, you're wise enough to start to get it, young enough to still enjoy it. In my 30s, it was wisdom. And now moving into my 40s, I realize it's really mostly about courage. It's courage to change the things you can. It's valor, which is not the absence of fear. It is what you do in the face of it. It's what you do anyway, to have that conversation that you didn't think you wanted to have, to stick your neck up to the person you're afraid of. And so we know there are now two things needed to change hearts and minds, to change society. Many of you have heard me talk about these two things. There's a science behind it. There's also art and a little bit of instinct. It's two things. People need to know that it is worth it, and they need to know that they can do it. Once they believe those two things, change starts to happen. So screw serenity. Are you with me? Yes. Relentless persistence is what we need here. Ruthless pragmatism, undefeatable imagination, indefatigable ingenuity. This is not, how can I think, oh, it's not so bad. No, this is how do we make it better? Courage. We must seize every single chance we can to gain a new foothold or go a better way. Demand good fortune from misfortune. You get knocked on your ass, keep going. Stand up. You're the case that can change a tide, because all politics are local first. All politics. There was a day we got knocked on our rear end. They took everything but the office furniture, and I was a new mom with a baby strapped on front with cameras in my face thinking, good Lord, what have I done and how do I get out of this? I was scared. They were coming for me next. They were going to come take that baby right off my front because of what I was standing up to talk about. They didn't. But they have to others. And those are who we still fight for. And those of you that have ever felt my fear, that's who we're still standing up for. We must will ourselves to see the opportunity in every misfortune, however it comes upon us. Nishi was right. Whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And one of the scariest days of my life have turned into the most remarkable dream, a family. Not just a husband and 2 kids, but the Oaksterdam family. Some of you are out there. I have gladiators, over 25,000 of them from 30 countries, going out and believing in this and changing hearts and minds and laws so that you can go make money. And we need to remember whose shoulders we stand on as we move forward. We stand on the shoulders of giants, people that have lost and risked everything, from their freedom to their families, their properties, their lives. This is also why we must tithe, and it's going to take each and every one of us giving just a little bit, many hands. But we have to start talking about it amongst ourselves. We have to start demanding it from one another. We meet with investors. What's your compassion plan? I've been talking about advocacy, advocating up. That's lobbying, that's politics. We have to advocate down. That's called compassion. I have a patient come in and talk to every class in our semester for just 15 minutes. And those 15 minutes of why to look to compassion for the patients that are still there, to protect them, to protect the system, to make sure that they're not burdened by these taxes as we go write these laws. We have to remember how many people lost everything on the way and make sure it doesn't keep happening, because I promise you, it could happen to you. People that have done everything right, and a very good person and good friend said just yesterday, yeah, I saw your raid, but we were past that. And then just recently, he got knocked down. Same person, tithes to DPA and MPP and probably ASA, on multiple boards, doing everything right, local politics, state politics, national politics. You can still be targeted doing everything right. And that's why you have to still do this. It is not safe for any one of you. You are slightly above the ostrich, awaiting the fate of the dinosaurs, if you don't understand where we still are in this industry. It is still a movement. We have to think about the words we use, because they control our actions and our thoughts. And I'm going to make a plea that you go scrub the word recreational off your website, off your materials, and out of your verbiage. Recreational is for Disneyland, it's for children, it's for fun. That is not what we're here to do. We want to legalize for adult consumption because this is the most important civil rights revolution of our time. This is adult, this is retail, this is commercial, this is not recreational anymore, please. You're freaking out the soccer moms and you're giving ammo to all the people that hate us. But it's also other words like overdose, a user versus a consumer. It's the concepts and the words that we use. Semantics. So these obstacles that lie before us, these obstacles in the path, become the path. Yes, we can agree on that. Never forget, within every obstacle, there is an opportunity to improve our condition. And notice I just said our, because sometimes what you do is not about you, it's about us. And if we all start doing that, we will get over the line. We are an armada, an army, if you will. But we've often been in a circular firing squad, yeah? How about we all turn around and face front? We can get there faster, stronger, better. Tenacity, valor, ceaselessly creative and optimistic. So what's holding you back? What stops you? Too busy? What stops you from joining the national conversation? Because that's really what I'm talking about here, is the national conversation. Right now there's one group, the National Cannabis Industry Association, that's lobbying for what I'm talking about, and only one other group, Americans for Safe Access, that's lobbying for patients. That's it. We need to start having conversations with these groups and strengthening these conversations. What's holding you back? Is it your physical size, race, distance, disability, money, mental fear, prejudice, uncertainty, inexperience? Did I say money? That's a big one. But time is pretty valuable too. Perhaps you think people don't take you seriously. You're too old. You're too young. From Coral Reefer to Granddaddy Mike, attorney Kendra Miller to businessman John Downs, each person makes a difference. And when we hold each other accountable to figure out how you are, We can create this ambiance, the expectation, the standard of participation in what I'm talking about, to even be considered in good business. If laws or regulations restrict your options or your obligations do, self-doubt, remember, where one person sees a crisis, another sees an opportunity. Where one is blinded by success, another sees reality with a ruthless objectivity. When one loses to emotion, another will remain calm. And when I say I train gladiators at Oaksterdam, gladiators often get the most bloody, but they are trained warriors. And they just might make the most money because they're the first through that wall, because they know where they're going and why and how to get there. And education and advocacy go hand in hand, however you come across it. So, are you a business professional or a criminal? How many of you were in yesterday's session, the debate? How did that make you feel? Ouch. It hurt. Whew. Especially those of us that have held people that are dying or sick or in jail through the wall. Have seen the stories, heard the stories, read the stories, lived the stories. Are you a business person or a criminal? Because they still think you're a criminal. And not only are you a criminal, you are a degenerate. I am too. I should say we, right? Because I'm teaching y'all how to do it. Good Lord. Wow. How you advocate, up and down. How you lobby, how you do politics, how you show your compassion will determine how you are viewed, how you're treated in your community, and how you're treated by a jury. And what I'm talking about here is not just organizational tithing and participation. I'm talking about personal. You got to show up. You have to show up to vote. And if you do that, let's hope you get called to jury duty. Get on a marijuana case, and then hang it. Hang that jury. Prosecutors do not like to lose. They will stop bringing the cases if they keep losing. And it's happening all over the country, and that's when laws start to change. But you have to show up. So what is your obstacle? Identify it. Overcome it. Because by going through that one obstacle, you will be shocked at what you find when you move that boulder. The old adage, that sack of gold underneath, could be your next business partner, your next life partner, your next opportunity, because you just went through that obstacle. That's where the money is, because everyone else went around it. That's where the opportunity lies, is where everybody else gave up. 80% of second businesses succeed. You just can't give up. Whether it's juries, officials, regulators, community perceptions of who you help, you're helping yourself. Far too many have given up, but enough brave souls have not. Practice harder. They went the extra mile to establish good community relations, and those don't go away. Press relations, government relations, employee relations, consumer relations. If you look for the weak spots and the new allies, the new faces, the strange faces, we can learn from them. Hire younger, hire older, hire different colors. Speak to different constituencies and different customers, because your customer base will expand as your diversity does. It's an economic model. I'm not making this stuff up. So who will craft the language to our next law? How cumbersome will the entry fees be? Licensing? What will your market potential be? Tax burdens? Will we find a way to collaborate grassroots with grass tops? Unite them with the advocates that know the ground the best? Will there be a level playing field or financial discrimination and barriers? Will the stakeholders survive? With a change in the face of the president, we're less than a year away. We have got to get to Congress. So who's going to be the face? Bernie? That'd be nice. Feeling the burn? Even if you don't think he can win, talking about it pushes the policy forward. Feel the burn for a little while longer, yeah? Yeah. Or Trump. Yeah, I feel a burn, but it's like kind of more heartburn. Kind of like when W got elected. I'm like, no, it can't possibly happen. Yeah, no, actually it can. It can happen. So will that business plan in your briefcase survive? Will it exist in its current form? Will it survive the election? Because you know winnable is not the same thing as winning. And we have folks like Dr. Evans doing everything they can to make sure that this social experiment rolls backwards. And as long as we are lumped with tobacco and alcohol, we run that risk. We are not there yet. And even people in places where they are regulated to the point where the mayor cuts the ribbon in their opening ceremony, you're still not safe yet. And it's not just you, it's all of us. So this might take many angles. You've heard me often say that it will be torque. We have to apply torque from multiple directions. It might also be some angels. This is going to have to move on Wall Street, not just Main Street. It's also going to have to move on K Street. We have to insist within this industry upon the values that ultimately help us all in the long run. More customers to purchase your wares with disposable income. Small business is the backbone of America. Over 86% of our economy is based on small business. There is no reason that the cannabis industry should be any different. We have to protect medical and protect the stakeholders who are providing for them, but also the micro businesses, not just small business. You know, small business is 50 employees. That's kind of big, at least to us. We're talking micro, family businesses. We have to engage in the legal drafting. We have to engage in vetting these candidates, and we have to get involved in the groups that are already allied together. California Growers Association, National Cannabis Industry Association, Americans for Safe Access. We have to begin coalition building with mainstream endorsing organizations focusing on Latinos, seniors, women, implement a positive earned media strategy, and I think more importantly, a responsible consumption and cultivation campaign, or as I like to call it, don't be a dumbass campaign. Train your entire staff to be representatives. Give them all media training, even if you don't put them in front of a camera, because they're in front of their family and their friends and their locals and their schools and their elected officials and people that might be on your jury or writing your law. But they don't know you're there. They like you. They trust you. It's that scary drug dealer in the corner, not you. But they don't know you because you haven't talked to them yet. So what do you want your business to be when it grows up? What is your business plan? Is this your first business in the cannabis industry? Did I mention 90% of your first businesses fail? But 80% of your second ones will succeed. You learn a lot about what not to do. And only by persisting and resisting can we learn what others might have been too discouraged to have been taught. It's okay to feel discouraged. It is not okay to quit. Plant your feet. Keep inching closer. Persistence. Because right now, you are all kamikaze fighters. I want that to sink in for a minute. Y'all know what anyone not know what kamikaze means? It's okay, you don't have to raise your hand, look it up. Google. We don't even have to fight over poker games anymore. We can actually look it up. Isn't that lovely? You are all kamikaze fighters, whether you realize it or not. If you are in this industry, That is how you fly right now. I will say again, you are slightly above the ostrich, awaiting the fate of the dinosaurs if we don't change this law federally, all the way, whether that means one state at a time or Congress all at once or a new face in the White House. We've got to do it, and we have to do it quickly because that new face could have Chris Christie as the AG. This is still just a policy. It is not yet a law. And if you are here, you are a thought leader. You are an influencer. You are a change agent. You can make this happen as long as you all decide to do it with me. Are you with me? I can't hear you. Good Lord. All great victories involve a potent cocktail of creativity, focus, and daring, and that is what I have found in the people that I have met at this conference. We have a shot at succeeding in this social experiment, but we need the entourage effect. Never doubt a small group of committed citizens can change the world. It is indeed the only thing that ever has. And if you don't, that business plan, sat in the front row, didn't you? Are you starting to regret it? No. They say to have that moment where people really remember, and I think the organizers will remember the $500 charge. But won't you remember the confetti just... Thank you so much for your time and attention. Thank you. All right. How much time do we have? I have no idea how I'm doing on timing. I just kept talking. 2 minutes? 2 minutes? Questions, comments, smart remarks? Awesome. Thank you. I really appreciate your time. Thank you. Yes?
One thing, when you talked about training your employees to be advocates was a very, very key thing because ultimately we're all educators. Every single one of us have to be educators, and so we have to give people the tools to use correctly for their own good and for the good of the community.
If you didn't hear that, giving your employees the tools for your good and the good of your community, and also the good of your legal case. Because if they understand simple things like I do not consent to a search, that gives your lawyer tools to get you off or out of some of the trouble. But if you fail to train, oh, I'm just going to turn over the staff anyway. What if they stay? They represent you. And it's not you that's going to screw this up. You're conscientious. It's the dumbass staff that you forgot to train. And so it's very important to make sure that not only are you handing your staff a full toolbox with which to operate, but also your attorney. Because if you fail to train your staff, you just took your hammer out of your defense, if that happens to be where you end up. Or this is how you get your permit, by glorifying and identifying that very training, because that's what communities like to see. Thank you for pointing that out. Appreciate it. All right, I think we took the 2 minutes. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful afternoon.